think it's going to be really hard for him to fight the charges in court. There are also communications that could show corrupt intent. For example, he asked one of his associates to essentially plant a story about his back channel to WikiLeaks, Randy Credico, and I think those things are going to be used against him in court and would be very hard to talk his way out of.
To me, Roger Stone is an example of the age of the information war.
Yes.
Roger Stone is literally all over InfoWars. He knows how information is weaponized. Yep. He was talking to WikiLeaks for that very reason. Oliver, do you see examples this week of an information war underway?
Oh, definitely. And I think actually Roger Stone was at the center of the most recent information war, if you will, on Friday, when you had him arrested by the FBI. He was indicted by Special Counsel Robert Mueller. That was the story. But on the right, on the fringes of the right, a conspiracy theory spread, and I won't get into it, but it was about CNN and Robert Mueller, and it spread.
That we were tipped off by Mueller.
Sure.
Give me a break.
Right, to embarrass Roger Stone and to record his arrest, so I guess it would embarrass him. It's like they were saying it was propaganda. But this started on the fringes of on the right, and it moved in. And
within hours, the president was tweeting about it.
Right, and it hijacked the dialogue for a little bit. When the real story was Roger Stone being arrested, a lot of people, including some mainstream commentators and journalists, started asking questions about this conspiracy theory. And I think as journalists, we have to be very careful not to allow bad faith actors to hijack the conversation and to move the story away from what it really should be. And usually, it's not positive for the president.
This time last week, there was a story about Covington Catholic in the news, that confrontation in Washington. I don't think this ever should have been a national news story, but it went viral on Twitter. Journalists have an unhealthy relationship with Twitter. It became a national story. And to me, Jess, this is another example of the information war. Two different versions of what happened, no ability to see, no ability to agree on what happened, and a story that frankly just ends up frustrating everybody.
It all comes from, I mean, the Roger Stone moment was the day that the Access Hollywood tape came out showing Trump saying disgusting things.
Yeah.
Was also the WikiLeaks dunk. It was the perfect example of how misdirection works, of how somebody who is willing to manipulate an information war would change the subject like that. We would have talked about that tape probably for the next, 23 days of the campaign that was left, except then we got the WikiLeaks dump and we wound up talking about John Podesta's risotto recipe instead. It was a highly effective feint. And Roger Stone has been fairly good at that. I don't think he's able to do it again, though. When he talks about how he's been framed, somehow framing him would have to also include making him brag about his own crimes on Twitter. Like, you can't both be a master of the dark arts and point to how you're a master of the dark arts at the same time. It doesn't work that way. If you're confessing to what you're doing as you're doing it because you feel really smart about doing it, that's going to come back in the end to undermine your I've been framed message.
Right, I hear you, but his use of Twitter, his use of Instagram, posting so many memes, he tries to confuse people and create so much confusion. And Shelby, wrapping up here, confusion is part of the information war.
100%. I mean, I think it's so fascinating to see him give interviews on television, say that he's going broke, say that he needs $2 million to fight a lawsuit, and then you go on Instagram and he's posting videos of his Gucci shoes.
I hadn't seen that
one. As Jess said, he likes to have it both ways. Yeah. I do think that he's doing an effective job for now because he's on television shows spinning his narrative.
Right.
But again, when he goes into court, he has to face real charges that he lied to Congress, and there's lots of evidence that shows what he said was provably false.
I've been hosting the show for 5 years, and only 2 guests have been arrested in 5 years. Michael Cohen and Roger Stone. And I find that interesting. What a coincidence. These are the only 2 guests I've ever interviewed who've been arrested.